What's going on, fam? Alex Schlinsky here for the Get More Clients show. As always, joined by my co-host Brian Downard. How you doing, buddy?
Living the dream.
Hey, really excited to have you here today. As always, thank you so much for your time. We always live stream this show in our Facebook group, The Seven Figure Culture. If you are listening after the fact on your favorite podcast app, hit that like or subscribe button. We appreciate it. We can find us on YouTube as well. Today, we're going to be talking about how to retain your clients forever. Was that like a good, like deep, did that come off well, Brian?
Yeah, for sure. And like when you pass away, you're going to pass them on to your family, and then they're going to be like a multi-generational client.
It took us less than 3 minutes to dive into morbidity on the Get More Client show.
You
I
know
love
what?
it.
Well, as I said that out loud, there's got to be businesses out there for sure who have like multi-generational clients who've just been in, I don't know, trucking or steel space. And that's
like
pretty cool.
funeral
That's
homes.
pretty cool. That's the goal. Let's get Ellie to be a coach
Oh my
this program.
God. He is 6 months old. Let's slow down there for a sec. Guys, if you are looking for continuity in the recording and wondering why did we miss last week, besides for just being obviously terrible hosts, kidding, we did it in our episode instead. We did the Get More Client show, Wheel of Misfortune. So you can check that out in our Seven Figure Culture group. It's pretty awesome, where we warm call leads and we take shots and we do jumping jacks and plank on calls and do stupid accents. Brian did a Texas accent last week that was hilarious. And I attempted to do an Australian accent that I think was Australian, South African, English kind of mixed together. I never said I was good at accents. So
I did a call last night with one of our Australian clients, and we were laughing at you about that. So it's
fair.
worth very funny.
I accept the laughing at me, and I will take it with honor. Brian, let's talk a little bit about how to keep clients forever. Let's talk about one of our favorite clients, Robin. So you started working with her a long time ago. Can you just set the stage for us a bit on what that experience was like before she even worked with us in POD?
Yeah, it's crazy. At least half a decade, if not longer, before I was in POD. Had my own agency, had my own coaching program, specifically on done for you, not done for you, but you could sell it as a done for you service, but specifically outreach. But prospecting on demand does really well. And why? One of the reasons I was brought into the coaching program. And Robin was a client. She wanted to bring on more people, but I had never actually seen Robin on camera. I think maybe we had talked over Messenger a few times. And as we started to work together more, realized that this is also something she was doing with clients, not really ever talking to them on the phone, only communicating over email. Same with her team. So it's been this really beautiful transformation over the last couple of years of her just really coming out of that shell and being able to have the hard conversations that people don't like to have and step up as an entrepreneur. And the numbers and growth in her business show that. So I'm really proud of that growth and been grateful to work with her. But I know you have some more specifics on what she's done, so I'm excited to get into that.
Yeah, I think one thing that's so valuable, Brian, you bring this up a lot in, in POD, the idea that what's stopping you is likely the hard conversations you're not having. Yesterday, I was on with my coach and he sent something to me, Brian, that was super valuable. He said, 90% of the truth is really easy. 10% is the hard part. And the 10% is the most important part. And it's mostly the part that people gloss over or avoid because they're afraid of conflict. And he shared an insight with me that I thought would be really valuable to share today on the GMC. He was talking about that the problem with confrontation, people don't want to have confrontation because they think it's me versus you. What he was framing is that it's a triangle. It's me and you versus the problem. And I think that is so amazingly powerful to frame it in that way, because I think a lot of times, especially in business, people are afraid to have these conversations with their own team, with their clients, with themselves, even out of fear that it becomes personal, because emotions are a very real thing and people take things personally very quickly, me included. So I think that mindset is super valuable. The reason I bring this back to Robin is I think, most people consider that the easiest way to retain clients forever, it's like, oh, Alex and Brian are just going to say, get great results. Absolutely. 100%. Brian and I will agree with that. But I think everyone listening to this show has already experienced before a time where you've gotten great results for your clients, but they didn't continue. And there's something to be said about that, whether it's, the KPI wasn't clear, we booked them leads, but they wanted appointments, or we got them appointments, but they didn't close the deals. or it's lack of accountability or attribution, whatever it is, fine. But that's not really the point here. It's not just results that matter. It's also the important communication that's required, right? It's the idea of making sure that you're communicating the hard truths with the people you work with, whether it's your sales process is not good enough, or your onboarding process is not strong enough, or your review system or referral system is not good enough, or your marketing process is not good enough, or your offers are not good enough. These conversations are really hard to have because I think a lot of people are scared or concerned to share it, right? And not just with clients, but even with team members, right? I think one of the things that was really interesting about working with Robin in the beginning, I think she had 3 or 4 team members, and she had never spoken to any of them over Zoom or over the phone. All communication for like the year that they were working together was on communication via text or in Slack or via email. And I think a lot of clients will come to us in POD, whether it's team members or with clients, and they're like, I got this email. And the most common email is like, I want to cancel, or I want to know why you're better than this person, or I'm worried about this offer. How can you handle this objection? And they're always looking for like this sexy way to rewrite an email. But if you guys remember in sales, when we coached this just a couple of weeks ago, the idea of sales comes down to 3 main elements: the visual component, the tone of what you say, and then the words in which you say. Meaning in text, the only element of the 3 that you have available to you is just the words that you say. And oftentimes it's not correct. And Brian, I'll share that Shira story with you guys again that I mentioned to you the other day, my wife, and how I kind of messed up with that. But I think one of the things to consider is, if you're just writing text back and forth with your team or with your clients, there's definitely going to be some miscommunication. It's going to have some sort of misconstrued element of some personal attack. And we're always talking about, what can we do to help you pick up the phone and just talk it out? Because talking it out is always going to be better. But I think a lot of people have zero confidence in feeling comfortable to talk it out. How do people have the hard conversations, Brian?
Yeah, I think to add to that, people are a lot less scary on the phone unless they're just total assholes and they're like yelling at you and abusing you. Like that's, to me, like that's a line that has to be drawn. This isn't confrontational. This is business. Be a big boy or big girl, put your pants on and deal with the problems. Don't berate other people. That's just straight up, and you shouldn't deal with that in your business and with clients like that. But to that point, and to your question, Alex, I think why people become fearful of their clients is because there was no expectation set or nothing actually laid out clearly, what we call a service level agreement. We'll talk about here in a second. But without an expectation of the relationship, they take an inch, then they take a mile, and then they take your whole life, and then they move into your house, and now they take over your mortgage and you're screwed. We had the joke you've heard us say probably before on the show: if you give a moose a muffin. It's a children's book, one of my favorites. I'm excited now because I get to read that to our upcoming baby. And Alex, you should read that
Hey,
too.
congrats.
It's a great book. Thank you very much. And the idea is, like, if you give, this is a classic story, you give someone an inch, they take a mile. So having clear expectations for what the relationship looks like in terms of how you will communicate, what they get as a result, what they get as deliverables, how they are going to get it, that all should be written out and predefined, not reactive to a proposal. A lot of times people like, and again, you're like a chef taking random ass orders, like you're at Hometown Buffet and they're just throwing shit at you, like, make this with all these random things, versus like the high-end restaurants, like, no, this is what it is, this is what you get. It's predetermined and defined. And no, I'm not going to go back into the kitchen and make you a proposal and bring it back out here and see if you like it. It's like, this is what it is, and I think you should take this. So to me, the predefined parameters around the offer keeps you honest in your sales process, keeps the efficiency on the back end easier. And then the tangible thing you can take away from this is the service level agreement, having in writing those elements, what they're going to get as deliverables, what they're going to get as the outcome, if there are any guarantee conditions, what the guarantee is, what voids that guarantee if there are any, when you'll communicate with them, how you'll communicate, where they shouldn't be communicating with you, like texting, calling on weekends, how long will it take you to get back to them. All of these things should be very clearly written out. We have an awesome template for this in the POD program. But also, as you're going through your experience working with clients in the actual act of doing it, you'll see things that'll come up, like, ooh, I need to address this, or ooh, that's a problem I'm going to have with future clients. You can add this into the SLA to make that easier for you to better serve them. And I think it's also important to keep in mind, if you don't have an SLA in place, you can create one and put it in front of current clients and do it and frame it in a way that is in their benefit, right? Like, not like we're going to restrict how we communicate, but hey, let's streamline this so we can all get on the same page and get the result together quicker and with less frustration. And that is how you can kind of take something retroactively and put it back in front of old clients. But to us, That is what you should do, not proposals, not reactivity to what they said they wanted, predefined packages that are already written out clearly what the tangible things are so you can show it to them and there's not a disagreement on what is actually inside of there.
Absolutely. I think a key element of the SLA as well is getting them to agree to it, right? If you just have a document of what the SLA is, but they don't actually agree to it and are not held accountable to it, then there was no value of it in the first place. And I think one of the key elements is defining that success. We want to identify what is it going to take to ensure that you retain with us, pay us month in and month out. We cannot just assume that it's because we said we guarantee you 10 appointments for your med spa, that if we get you 10 appointments for your med spa, you're more than certainly going to continue. I think a lot of people misconstrue this in the agency space where like, but I got you 100 leads for your gym, but I helped you get 5 new cases for your law firm, but I got you 10 new patients for your chiropractic firm. I think a lot of people forget to actually ask what the client wants. So if you have a very clear offer in your SLA, it says, we're going to get you 10 appointments guaranteed within 30 days for your medical spa. Then you say, hey, that's what you want, right? Just confirming that. If we got you 10 appointments, would you continue? They would likely say, well, if those 10 appointments ended up having us get clients and get a return on the investment, then we would. Okay, well, let's do the math together. Let's make sure that's in the SLA. Let's communicate that so I can hold you accountable to it and you can be held accountable to getting back to us on what those numbers are. Yesterday on our systems workshop in Prospecting on Demand, we were talking about this retention idea of making sure that you're communicating with your clients. Like Brian and I have shared on this meeting so far, a lot of us are afraid to speak to our clients. We'll like hide away from them with the idea like, oh, if we bring something up to them, then that's when they'll want to cancel. Like if we hide from them, then the bill will go through. It never will work that way. If you wait on your clients and being exactly, if you wait on your clients and you're waiting on them you're waiting to be reactive to them, it's not going to work. You have to be proactive and they have to do their job too. I love using the fitness metaphor for agencies. I think it's really valuable. And we do this in every sales call for POD as well. But if you tell your client, hey, you're coming to my metaphorical gym, you're paying me to provide you with a service from that metaphorical gym, but you can't just say, okay, give me the abs. Like you're paying for an idea to say, we're going to get you 10 appointments for your medical spa, right? But that's not just going to be enough. I don't want to be a marketing partner or a provider, excuse me. I want to be a marketing partner. What's going to be required of you is to tell me what happened on every single one of these 10 meetings so that I can help you optimize the sales process, the offer, and I can ensure that our ads are up to date with how your process is going so we can win. So that by a month's end, I don't just say, well, I brought you the 10 appointments. I don't know what happened with them, but you should continue paying me. It doesn't work that way. Communication has to be both ways. And when you do that, that is how you retain clients longer. Otherwise, you get stuck in this model of, okay, well, I'm just going to hope and pray that my clients are working with me. Most agency owners' retention rate is less than 3 months, which is terrible. And to that note, if you're getting people to commit for 3 months, please, I've said this before on the show, but I want to make sure this is really clear. When you're done with the 3 months, do not move to month. Get them to commit longer, 6 months. After 6 months, get them to commit for a year. You deserve it. You've earned that. Give that opportunity to them to feel comfortable that they have peace of mind. They have a marketing partner that's on their side that are going to be proactive in the results, not just, well, I got you the 10 appointments. And I think that's absolutely key.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to this because this is really important as well. Where you were talking about like making sure there's in the SLA guarantee stipulations, how that works, et cetera, and becoming a partner and helping them achieve the result. I think what's so interesting is agency owners believe that if they just achieve their guarantee, they're going to retain clients. If your guarantee is like 10 leads, 20 booked appointments, whatever, right? Like that's your guarantee. You're like, oh, I did that, but I still lost the client. Are you actually getting them the result though? Are they getting the outcome? And in some cases, most cases, you're not going to be able to control that. You're not a doctor. You're not an attorney. You're not a real estate agent. You can't get that deal over the line, but you have to be a partner like Alex is describing here in the conversion and helping them get better at that. It's, funny that I guess not funny, a little bit strange and backwards, but people who are really good at the thing they went to school for, surprise, they're not good at marketing and sales. So if you're sending leads to an attorney and he doesn't know how to take a deposit or get paid like right then and there from like regardless of the niche, it's your job to help them understand these things and get better at it, or you will lose them, even if you're hitting the guarantee, because they truly what they want is the ROI on their money.
Absolutely.
Now, that being said, I have something I feel very strongly about, a theme I've shared more often. I need to like coin this or something because it's very important to me. The idea of overcompensating versus over delivering. We tend to, with new clients and clients that are underperforming, overcompensate by doing a lot of extra stuff for them that does not push the lever to the actual result they wanted. So in our mind, oh, we're over delivering. I promised to get them
Yeah.
X amount of leads per month, and I'm gonna do Facebook ads. I didn't do it really well, so I'm gonna do their website and I'm gonna do their business cards and I'm gonna do some SEO, and then I'm like, oh wait, I got fired anyways. God damn it! I just spent 5 times the amount of energy in that client, and you still lost them because you were overcompensating, not over delivering on the thing they actually wanted. So separate those in your mind. And to further this point, one more thing here I want to add. I had a whole bunch of
Hey, there we go. Hashtag one more thing.
there you go. Hashtag one more thing. The idea of you are actually doing your clients a disservice if you are yourself the one trying to constantly overcompensate or over deliver, because you are creating a bottleneck where you can't possibly manage more than a couple of people at one time, because all your time is poured in to 1, 2, 3, 4 people, and you can't give yourself to another business.
And setting bad expectations, right? I mean, you're also setting terrible expectations. I think one thing that people need to hear bluntly is that it doesn't matter if you think you did a good job. It matters what the client said. It's so easy to blame people. Human beings are so used to just being like, no, I'm not going to take ownership. We're going to just, blame it on the client. It's their fault. If you are not comfortable taking radical ownership, even if you're probably correct that the company could have done a better job, you're just not going to retain your clients longer. I think too many people think in a really short-term mindset. Like Brian was just talking about this earlier about the SLA, like, oh, but what if I already have current clients that don't have an SLA? Okay, so go and bring it back to them. Oh, but what happens if this current client I'm working with struggled and I can't implement this SLA with them now? Okay, so you're going to lose that client. But guess what? You're going to get another one, and you now have the SLA and the lesson to bring to it. I mentioned this last night in our Scale 7 call, which is our year-long program for prospecting on demand. And I think that there's a lot of value to consider here, this idea that experience doesn't make you better. It's evaluated experience that makes you better. Just experiencing what it's like to have clients and retain clients and lose clients doesn't do much, but evaluating what occurred in order to get better is how you can actually optimize and get better. I think too many people are on a day-to-day, month-to-month process instead of, this is an agency I'm trying to build as a legacy company for my family, for my life, for the people beyond me, for my generationals to come. I think the idea comes down to, you're so worked up on if client Dave is going to pay you again, instead of utilizing the avatar of what can I learn if Dave leaves that will allow me to focus on what we can do moving ahead. And we've had to do that, of course, in POD and of course in our agencies, and it doesn't make it any easier. I want to make this point clear. What Brian and I are saying is always easier said than done. We never take for granted how simple it is to share the insight. It's always easier for the personal trainer to be like, Brian, you're going to do 5 box jumps today, run 2 miles and jump rope for 25 minutes. It's really easy to say. It's really hard to do. Run for 2 miles or whatever I said and do the 5 box jumps and do 25 minutes of jump rope. It's a lot harder. We get that. We understand it. There is definitely emotional affect to it. I think the best thing you can do is try to implement one of these things at a time. When you listen to the Get More Client show, our goal is not that we just make you laugh or you learn something. That's definitely part of it, but we want you to implement at least one thing. And you should consider that for anything that you're listening to. I'm a big proponent of Blinkist. It's like a basically SparkNotes version of books. Whenever I listen to a Blinkist, I'm always trying to take away at least one thing that I can implement. It's really hard to listen to a show for 25, 30 minutes and take away every single element, especially if Brian and I are bantering back and forth. It can't be something that's like, oh, this is a structured coaching call. That's not what we're doing here. Brian and I are just sharing ideas on how to keep your clients longer. Try to take away one thing from this. So when we wrap up, you say, I'm going to make sure I have an SLA today, or I'm going to make sure I reach out to my clients that maybe aren't super stoked, or I'm going to double check that I know exactly what my clients want to be determined as successful so that I can make sure I can hold them accountable to that when we come to the next renewal.
I agree with all of that, except we don't banter. We choose our words very intentionally, and we're very
I disagree.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, but you're absolutely right. And I don't know if it's because I committed to the idea of wanting to be an entrepreneur from a very early age, that I was just okay with the journey and I guess not the struggle per se, but I have had some serious ups and downs in my agency and my coaching business before I think we found some stability with POD. And I wouldn't say POD's ever in the last 3 years had a down. We've had challenges and maybe not been as profitable in a month or two that we wanted to be, but it's this weird idea, and it's again easier said than done, but learning how to enjoy the process and the journey and not the destination. Because I promise you, when you get to whatever you have in your mind that you want to achieve, and I tell our clients this all the time, you're going to set another mountain for yourself
Right away, literally right away.
instantly. You're not even gonna like, you probably won't even celebrate it that much. You might a little bit, but then you're like, all right, what's next? That's how we work as entrepreneurs. So find joy in the practice and the journey.
I want to touch on this. I want to touch on
And
this.
then I want to roll a quick ad. I'm sorry, I do want you to add to this.
Good.
What I wanted, my headline here was, it took us, in my opinion, me and Alex, and then we came together in the last couple of years here, but a decade or more to be an overnight success. It's really
Yeah,
easy
for
to look
sure.
at the mastermind houses now and the ClickFunnels awards and be like, oh wow, like they're doing so. Like, I've been doing this shit since I was 16 years old, and it's only been in the last couple of years that it's really clicked. So if you're like trying to be $1 million agency in 6 months, sit the fuck down, be patient, and do the work, because it's not going to happen overnight
I
unless you're a
love
freak
that.
of nature. Go ahead.
We're big on forcing the issue on rewards, right? So when someone hits like a huge milestone, we're always trying to make sure, like, before you identify what's the next thing, because there's always the next thing, how are you going to reward yourself for it? So like one of our clients is going to get a tattoo of Phoenix Rising, or another client's
Yeah.
going to take their kids to Disney, or another client's going to get like this hydrofacial that's $1,000. That's outrageous, but that's what they want. Or I'm going to buy myself a e-bike because Brian's been bothering me about it every single day for the last 6 months. Like you got to reward yourself, otherwise you get tired. And if you can feel yourself not enjoying the journey, which I think all of us have been there before, don't be afraid to take some time off. Taking time off for a day, a two, or a weekend. I know that when I say that, you probably get a lot of stress, but the idea is really important, that you're okay with realizing that this is not what my life is. You want to build a business, not a job. So if you built a business, you're allowed and willing and capable to take time off. Before we go today, I'll let you say whatever else you want. I just want to share that story regarding the tonality in text. And I think why Brian and I are big proponents of in communication,
Oh yeah.
just picking up the phone, and why it's so important. So I'll go back probably, what is this, 13 years now. My wife and I, Sharon and I, have been married. This will be our 6-year anniversary on November 8th, which is crazy. But we've been dating for more than 10 years, meaning together, because we met in high school. And we were friends for about a year and a half before we ever started dating. And you guys know all in high school how awkward it can get, especially in the millennial age. I'm about to be 30 and Brian's 31.
I was this tall when I was in high school. Imagine
Yeah,
how
so
awkward I was.
exactly. You get the
Like,
awkwardness,
hey,
right?
do you want to go to prom?
Like, I can't see your face. It's in the clouds. So, like, I think one of the things that occurred to me was, I was afraid, I think, to pick up the phone or speak to her in person. It's much easier to go behind your phone and like do the texting version, right? So, what I did was, I remember the first time texting her about it, I was like, hey, do you want to, go get some pizza together tomorrow night? Just you and I. And that was my casual way of basically asking her out on a date. And she didn't answer. So I think maybe 20 minutes later, without the answer, you're like desperately waiting for the text back. You guys remember that back in the day? You're desperately waiting for the text back. And I had to send another text because I was getting worried that maybe like I came off too strong. I was like, hey, by the way, if that was like too strong, we can go with some friends. Like, it doesn't have to be that way, all good. No answer. Like, oh my God, now I'm in freak out mode. I think I might have sent 8 texts in like an hour, something like that, some around that number. Might have been 3, but for the sake of the story, we'll say it's 8 for the dramatic, the dramatization of
Like
this.
you like to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I remember telling my dad, like, she didn't answer. What do I do? And he's like, stop being a little girl. She's probably busy. Her life doesn't revolve around your text. She'll come back to you. Don't worry. Which she was right. She then texted me probably 2-3 hours later, and she's like, hey, just saw your text. I was at the mall with my mom. My bad. Why did you text me 8 times? Like, yeah, I'll happily go pizza with you. And it's just funny how that ends up happening. Like, we have all these assumptions and incorrect emotions around like communication via text. And I think a lot of people are afraid to just get on the phone. But doing that and communicating the hard things will help you get your clients longer and retain your clients longer. And I hope that is the essence of what you're taking away from today's GMC.
Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Yeah, and I would also challenge you guys. We're talking about like, how do I retain clients and really like scale, right? Like, that's what you're here for: getting more clients, growing the business. We've been sharing this sentiment more lately, and it's, don't pivot as soon as things get hard. Get better. A lot of
Yes.
people want to pivot just because, like, I lost a couple of clients. This niche is hard. The grass is greener mentality. You've heard us been talking about this a lot, is where you're looking elsewhere. You're like, oh, this thing is better. This thing's better. We work with more than 50 agency owners right now. It's so funny to me, not funny, even crazy, how some people come in like in ecom, but they want to get out of ecom because it's hard. Some people aren't in ecom, but they want to get in ecom because that looks cool and exciting. So there's always this grass is greener mentality, and you need to be challenging yourself to get better, be better than all the other people in your niche. Because to be honest, internet marketers are lazy. They don't want to talk to clients. They're doing the shit we're telling you not to do on this call. But if you can just be
Absolutely.
a little bit better, be that 10% better than everyone else, and get better, and don't just pivot to something else, you will make more money and you'll make a bigger impact on the people you want to serve, which I know is important to you. If you wouldn't be here.
Love it. Guys, thank you so much for watching us on the GMC show. We always appreciate your
Yeah.
time. Thank you for being here. Hit that like or love button, subscribe, leave us a rating, leave us a review, comment, do all the button stuff, you know, like boop, boop, beep, boop, boop, beep, pop. There you go. I hope you laughed at that.
Hashtag three
Noise.
buttons also. Hashtag three
Hashtag
buttons.
no buttons. Hashtag no button fam. That's the move. That's the method. All right, fam. We will see you on the next one. Thank you so much.
Peace.